Hey, it's Joe, and welcome back to Humanfluence. This is Manly P. Hall's lecture on the interplay of stars, extrasensory perception, and the soul's journey. The modern world has dismissed astrology as superstition and ESP as pseudoscience, and yet these subjects have persisted, not in the corridors of academia, but in the ancient temples, the secret schools of initiation, and the minds of mystics who understood that reality is far deeper than what meets the eye. Manly P. Hall, one of the greatest esoteric philosophers of the 20th century, did not see astrology as a parlor trick, nor ESP as a fantasy. Instead, he understood them as two aspects of the same great mystery, the idea that we are deeply connected to the cosmos, and within us exists an untapped reservoir of perception, one that transcends the physical senses. Let's unravel the link between astrology and ESP. Explore how these celestial bodies are not just inert masses floating in space, but living symbols that shape our consciousness, our destiny, and our ability to perceive beyond the ordinary. For those who believe astrology is mere chance or ESP is mere imagination, consider this. If the moon can pull the tides, what can the planets pull within you? If thought itself is energy, can it not move beyond time and space? If the ancients were wrong, why did their wisdom endure for millennia? And if science now tells us that reality is influenced by the observer, that consciousness shapes the very fabric of existence, then perhaps the ancients weren't merely speculating, but pointing us towards a truth so profound that it defies conventional understanding. And that is precisely the point. What has been dismissed as myth or superstition is often a form of knowledge that modern thought has yet to fully grasp. The ancients encoded their wisdom in symbols, allegories, and initiatory teachings not because they were primitive, but because they understood that some truths cannot be explained, only experienced. What if astrology and ESP were not mere relics of an outdated worldview, but glimpses into a reality that science is only beginning to recognize? What if the forces that shape the cosmos also shape our minds, our intuition, and our very perception of existence? Perhaps the real misunderstanding is not theirs, but ours. Let's go deeper. Hall saw astrology as the science of spiritual influence, a cosmic framework that shapes human consciousness. He did not believe that the planets cause events, as the unenlightened assume, but rather that they act as mirrors of deeper forces, signals of karmic patterns, and keys to unlocking the great mystery of the self. The stars do not compel, they impel. Imagine a great clock, one so vast that it spans the entirety of existence. The celestial bodies are the gears and dials of this cosmic mechanism, measuring the cycles of destiny, consciousness, and evolution. Again, the planets do not create events, they reflect them, just as a clock does not create time, but reveals it. This is why the ancients used astrology not to predict the future, but to align with cosmic rhythms. The wise do not seek to change the stars, they seek to understand what the stars reveal about their own spiritual path. Hall also understood that astrology was never meant to be a deterministic system, but a tool for self-awareness. In the same way that a seasoned sailor reads the tides to navigate the sea, the mystic reads the heavens to navigate the soul's journey. The celestial patterns are not rigid laws enforcing fate, but living symbols that speak to the subtle relationship between the macrocosm and microcosm. This aligns with modern findings in quantum mechanics and Jungian psychology. Just as the act of observation can influence subatomic particles, consciousness itself appears to be deeply interconnected with the universe. Jung's concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences of inner and outer events, suggests that astrology may not be a causal force, but a symbolic reflection of a deeper acausal order that governs both mind and matter. Furthermore, studies in chronobiology reveal that biologic rhythms, such as circadian cycles and lunar influences on human behavior, are inextricably linked to celestial movements. The gravitational pull of the moon affects not only the ocean tides, but also the electromagnetic fields of the human brain, hinting at a physical basis for astrology's subtle influence. Ancient wisdom and modern science, once thought to be opposed, are now beginning to converge. Perhaps what Hall and the mystery traditions have always known is that the universe is not a cold mechanical system, but a living, intelligent field of consciousness, one in which the movement of the stars is not separate from the movement of the soul. Now let's deepen it with the natal chart, a map of your soul's journey. If astrology is the great cosmic clock, then your birth chart is your personal timepiece. The moment of your birth is not random. It is a snapshot of the heavens, a reflection of your karmic imprint, the energy signature you brought into this lifetime. But this is not mere symbolism. Modern science has shown that timing matters at a profound level. Studies in chronobiology confirm that the precise moment of birth affects neurological development, biological cycles, and even long-term behavioral patterns. Hall taught that astrology reveals not just who you are, but who you have been and who you are meant to become. It is a blueprint of the soul's evolution, outlining your strengths, your innate gifts and abilities, and your weaknesses, the challenges and karmic lessons you have yet to master, and your destiny, the repeating patterns and spiritual themes that will present themselves until you integrate their wisdom. This is why astrology, when understood properly, is not about fortune-telling, it's about self-realization. For man is not controlled by the stars, but by his response to them. A strong person does not become weak because Saturn transits their chart. They become strong because they master the lessons of Saturn. In the same way, Jupiter does not simply bestow luck. It rewards those who expand their consciousness and embrace opportunity. The planets do not enslave you, they remind you of what you came here to learn. But what if you could go beyond the charts? What if your perception was not limited to fate, but expanded into direct knowing? This is where ESP comes in. Ancient mystics understood that astrology and extrasensory perception are not separate phenomena, but interconnected aspects of the same universal intelligence. The true secret, you are not just influenced by the cosmos, you are part of it. What we call ESP is not unnatural. It is pre-natural. It is the original way of knowing. Before humans became bound to the intellect, before we defined reality through logic alone, we sensed the world in ways that defied explanation. We knew when danger approached. We felt when someone was watching us. We saw visions and dreams that later came true. This is not fantasy, this is the original perception, the state we were meant to live in before materialism dulled our inner faculties. Hall spoke of ESP as the higher octave of astrology. If astrology tells you the what, ESP tells you the how. Astrology is the blueprint, ESP is the experience. Where astrology reveals the cosmic influences around you, ESP allows you to feel them directly. The initiates of Egypt, Greece, and the Far East did not see ESP as a rare gift. They saw it as a faculty to be developed, like intelligence or physical strength. Hall taught that every mystery school trained its disciples in clairvoyance, seeing beyond the physical, clairaudience, hearing messages beyond the physical plane, telepathy, receiving thoughts from beyond the mind, intuition, the highest form of knowing beyond reasoning. ESP was not separate from astrology, it was the activation of it. The true astrologer does not just read a chart, he feels its energy, its movement, its rhythm. The planets are not just symbols to him, they are living forces. And herein lies the secret. You do not need a psychic to tell you the future. You do not need an astrologer to reveal your fate. You are the psychic, you are the astrologer. The power is within you, it has always been. So why is this knowledge suppressed? For centuries, ESP and astrology have been ridiculed, not because they are false, but because they are dangerous. Dangerous to those who profit from ignorance. A population that can sense the truth cannot be deceived. A soul that understands its cosmic blueprint cannot be controlled. A mind that knows itself cannot be enslaved. And so the great spiritual sciences are labeled as myth. Astrology reduced to tabloid horoscopes and ESP mocked as fantasy. But the truth never dies. The sages of old whispered it in their secret teachings. The mystics encoded it in symbols. The seekers carried it forward through time, waiting for an age when humanity would awaken again. And that age is now. If you are hearing this, you are being called to remember, to awaken your inner sight, to feel the movement of the planets, not as distant objects, but as forces within, to reclaim the perception that has been dulled by generations of materialism. And how do you begin? Study the stars, not as symbols, but as forces. Train your intuition, trust the insights that come before logic. Develop presence. Most ESP is lost because the mind is too loud to hear it. Seek silence. True perception comes in the stillness, when the noise of the world fades. Because the ultimate truth is this: you are not separate from the cosmos, you are not bound by the five senses. You are an infinite being orbiting through time, unlocking the doors of perception, one by one. And when you see the stars, know this: they are not just lights in the sky, they are mirrors. Reflections of a greater truth. Humanfluence out.